Hey, happy Friday, everyone. We're live.
Woo woo! TGIF.
Well, a couple of us are here. We're missing Sam. But life continues even as we do our YouTubes.
Yep, Sam's actually in another state celebrating her birthday, so obviously family's super important, but she is missed as always. But today we're going to get in.
So hold on.
Okay.
So when you say she's in another state celebrating her birthday, do you mean location or?
Yes, Ron. I do not mean that Sam is in a alternative state with her mind. No, she's in another physical state with her sister. So.
Okay.
Okay, so today, guys, we're going to get into Kaylee McConkey. And Ron and I actually haven't watched this entire interview yet, so we're going to be going through it with you. And the purpose of this today is just for us to watch it, come together with commentary, ask questions, and just have an open dialogue with everybody in the chat. And so we just want to approach this conversation thoughtfully. Just looking at other people and other creators' content regarding this, it looks like this might have been one of the better interviews with respect to the questions asked, as well as some emotional response from Kaylee. So let's get into it, Ron.
All right, we'll get it started.
You can sit wherever.
Okay.
Counted in about 12:53. So I'm Check Miller, or you can call me James, and this is Lieutenant Catlin. So real quick, let me. So is that your cell number that I called you on?
Yeah.
Okay. And you recently graduated from U of I?
Yeah.
Is that correct? Okay.
Well, that's when I left Moscow. Technically, I graduated. I don't know if that matters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you from down here? Or are you from up there? Or? Okay.
Yeah.
So we're here obviously about all the stuff that happened up there last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Who of the victims did you know?
All four.
You knew all four of them.
I was in Wi-Fi. Maddie was my best friend. I was close to Xana for.
Wait, so did she say Maddie was her best friend? The transcript says Mario, but
Yes, that is my understanding as well, Ron.
okay, so this is Maddie's best friend. Okay.
Everyone has a lot of best friends in this town.
For like the year before I ended up leaving or like graduating, and then I like talk to her every now and then, like when I go up to Moscow. I had like just seen all of them for homecoming in October, and then I know Kaylee through Maddie because they were like childhood best friends, and I had met Ethan once through Xana.
Okay.
And yeah, Maddie was.
Did you know the two survivors?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know them as well because they
Okay.
so I've only met them a few times pretty briefly.
Okay.
And so I knew her a little bit more, mostly just like, yeah, through all of my friends.
Okay.
And they're in the same sorority.
And then what we understand is that you talked with Maddie or Kaylee that night. Maddie.
Yeah.
Okay. And how did you talk to her?
It was on FaceTime. She had FaceTimed me. I was pretty drunk. It was like a minute long.
Okay.
She FaceTimed with me and was just like, oh my gosh, I miss you. Because we were with her boyfriend.
Okay, so in that right?
Yeah.
So you were with
I
him.
didn't do first or last name.
Yeah. Either way.
And
you said Ruby was there also?
yeah, it was me and Ruby and I don't know if you guys know her, but it was me and Rita. Yeah, it was just like a quick FaceTime. I can find the exact time if you guys need it.
Ballpark, what time do you think it was?
Like 1:50 my time.
Okay, so that's an hour earlier, right? So
her
again,
time, and it was really just like 1 minute long.
Okay, and you said that you were drunk, or she was drunk, or both, or
both.
Okay.
I mean, I was at the bars down and then she was up at the club.
Okay, what club was she at? Do you remember?
The Corner Club.
Okay. You said it was about a minute long. Did she mention anything weird going on? Do you know who she was with?
Kaylee.
Okay, was she with anybody else that you knew of?
Not that I know of, but like again, it was a quick call. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, did you catch it? Was she in Moscow or she was gone? I had the impression that she was gone, but she was talking like she was there too.
Yeah, she's not in Moscow right now. She is
right, but at the time.
It's my understanding, no. I think we can defer to the chat, but I think she's in Boise, if I'm correct. Doesn't she say that she is hanging out with Maddie's boyfriend, Jake?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he lives in that area as well.
Okay.
Are you part of any of the group chats that are still going on? I know most of them are all students in the chats, but I know you're kind of recently left. And are you still part of some of that stuff? Or?
We still have a group chat. Yeah.
Anything mentioned on that that's out of place or weird or?
No.
Have you talked with many of the people who are still students there since this happened, or?
Yeah, I've been, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, honestly every day since I've been with and then a few of our other friends. I saw some of those younger girls. I saw and
so I did catch, it sounds like she was with Dylan and Bethany over these past few days.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not. I think at some point she's asked when the last time she was in Moscow. And I want to say, if I watched a couple of clips, it was like it was like New Year's Eve or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was out with, it looks like other people that had probably recently graduated, and they're in Boise is my understanding.
Yeah.
And then Ron, does she go back to Moscow?
I don't know. We'll see. But here's the thing. If the law enforcement wasn't treating Dylan and Bethany with the kid gloves that they were, that would probably be an area, somebody who was with Dylan and Bethany in the days after this, I would definitely want to probe a lot more on what their demeanor was, anything that they said. But because Dylan and Bethany are being seen purely as victims and not with any suspicion, everybody's skipping over that, and especially these detectives are skipping over that right now. I would be really interested to see how Dylan and Bethany's demeanor, if those are the names that she did state here. And I thought there was a D and a B on redacted names.
Okay, well, let's just keep listening and see if it actually says. And if anyone in the chat knows, then help us out.
I don't know her last name. They came over and were with us for a little bit on Monday night once they got back into town. And then I think parents drove up from here and she went back home with them, or drove or flew, I'm not sure. Again, I don't really know her that well.
Yeah, these unnecessary redactions are really making it difficult to follow what's going on and where everybody is and who's there. Completely unnecessary redactions in this.
And they're just not warranted. That's the problem that we have with it. It's not warranted. What privacy interest are we protecting by, every other word that's getting redacted? Defeats the purpose of redactions.
Yeah.
Oh, and then, I think is with her family, but that's basically it.
Okay. Did she post? Did Maddie or Kaylee or Xana post anything on social media that you saw that is after when you FaceTimed them?
Yeah, so the next morning, it's it was just a video or a picture of Maddie on Kaylee's Snapchat story of the grub truck. It was just like, it said like Maddie was like annoying the workers to rush her order, and you can like see them take it in the video, and she was just like begging them to like, oh, like I want my order. So that's it.
Okay. Have you heard any rumors going around about what happened, or
100 rumors?
any of them, I guess, that seem like they could be?
The only one, I guess, is that I've been told the guy behind them in the hoodie and the hat is
Did you know him at all?
I
from school?
did. Not like crazy well. I mean, he was a dog, and
Ron,
So
I think they
the
think
transcript says dog.
right?
But huh?
Are they saying dog there, or is that just a
Delta.
type of transcript?
Delta.
That's
I'm very
what I thought.
confident she's saying Delta, and they hung out with Deltas.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that she's actually showing emotion, because that's been so different than the vast majority of the other interviews we've heard.
Mm-hmm.
that's like who we hung out with. And he was a couple years younger than me, but like we were in the same fam.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew him like kind of through that. He did have a girlfriend. I've heard that I know that he lived, and so I don't know, that video always just gave me like an uneasy feeling, but I don't know him, and all I've seen is that video, so I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I know about him. And yeah, he had a girlfriend for the whole time I was up in U of I, and I knew her better than him, that they're not dating anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said you were up there for homecoming
Yeah.
recently.
Mhm.
Did you go over to their place, Maddie and Kaylee's place?
I'm trying to remember. I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
The last.
I did. I didn't
Okay.
go inside.
Okay.
Yeah, I dropped. So my friend drove with us, and yeah, we dropped. She stayed there, and we dropped her off, and then we picked her up. I never ended up going inside.
When was the last time you went in their place? Approximately.
December 2021.
Okay.
I stayed there.
You stayed there?
Mhm.
And whose room belonged to whom? Where was everybody staying at that time?
So, those girls didn't live there. It was.
Oh,
so-
okay.
But I can tell you, all of the rooms. The room in the kitchen was.
Okay.
The room by the bathroom upstairs and still on the main level was Xana's. The room downstairs, when you first walk in, was.
So I don't get, even if they're trying to protect the victims and everyone, when they're talking about whose room is whose, that's a ridiculous redaction. That's somebody who, for some reason, wants to, make it difficult for anybody to follow up or question these things. That is, I don't get that redaction, even especially when you're just talking about whose bedroom was it.
Well, and then take it a step further, Ron. Are they, if nobody was living there, like we're hearing, then what privacy interest are they protecting with respect to the redaction? So my question is, are they redacting that, and they're being so incredibly monitored with respect to what they release with those spare bedrooms, because maybe the evidence points at people that does not support their narrative.
Yeah.
Because if no one's in the house, then why are they worried about protecting? Or if no one's in that room, then who are they protecting?
Yeah. You got to weigh the need for transparency with the privacy interest protections. And I think whoever's redacting this, I think it's the judge, Judge Hippler, I think. But whoever it is going way, way overboard on the protection of privacy. And it's really interfering with the public's right to know and to have transparency in these things. I mean, they say that they're protecting victims and third parties and everything, but who are they really protecting in this case? They're really protecting law enforcement.
I was just going to say their own selves, the university and law enforcement.
Yeah, university, law enforcement. So this is absolutely absurd how much redaction is in these interviews.
I agree. And there was one issue, because I do think this investigator is slightly better than the other ones we've seen. But when she was talking about rumors, I would have loved to hear the investigator. And who did you hear that rumor from? And did that come through a text? Did someone say that to you on the phone? And do we know who told that person? Because that was a perfect foundation layout to find out where these rumors are coming from. Are they intentional? Is there any truth? Sometimes when there's smoke, there's fire. So you want to really be able to analyze whether it truly was a rumor or if there was any truthfulness in it. But nobody seems to ask how they are hearing these rumors or who is potentially starting these rumors. And it's just a simple 3 follow-up questions.
Yeah. All right. Just another interview to make us angry, huh?
Yeah, and I think well, at least me personally, I get more frustrated knowing that there was evidence that was intentionally concealed, withheld, destroyed. So now when I'm watching this stuff after that interview with Cy, it's like I even have a whole different, I'm just different now looking at this stuff. Now I believe less and less and less.
Yeah.
Room next to it was vacant, but my friend said was paying rent because she couldn't find anyone to fill it. The room upstairs with the sliding glass door in the balcony was Kaylee's, and then the tiny room upstairs that just had the window to the balcony was Maddie's.
Okay.
Maddie's the only one that lived there for 2 years, and she stayed in that room the whole time.
Okay. And then obviously it's a different people living there now. Did people, when people came over, did they mostly use the back door, the slider, or the front door to get in? I mean,
the front door,
okay.
Because the slider, it goes out to that balcony, but it's kind of like on that hill, and you have to like walk through like the rocks and stuff. It was just like a little harder.
Okay.
Every time I used the front door, and that's what most people seem to use as well.
Okay. Besides the roommates, is there anybody else that you talk to or know about up there that seems like they know kind of what's going on about it that we should talk to? Do you think?
And I'm sure you guys have talked to them.
What's their name? Sorry. Okay.
Is the one that they called the next morning when they were like, I don't know, like they couldn't get a hold of their roommates and they were worried, and so and came over. I don't know her last name. That's her friend.
Go on, pause it really quick.
And
the roommates were so worried we didn't call 911.
Yeah.
That was the low-hanging fruit right there.
Yeah,
and yes, I believe that Ashlyn, sorry, one of the comments. Yes, I believe Ashlyn Couch was still on the lease, is my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that she wasn't living there at the time of the crimes.
Yeah. I'm still waiting for a reasonable explanation why Dylan and Bethany didn't call 911 when they saw allegedly the guy in the house. I don't see it, especially if it was Brian and they didn't know who he was or had any participation in this. I don't see it. The only thing I can rationally believe on why they didn't call 911 is they didn't want police coming yet, or they didn't, for if you're not involved in it, I don't get it. I still don't. I've never heard a satisfactory explanation about that. And there, if it's true that Brian did it, then there would be a satisfactory explanation. People just don't act that irrationally. I mean, yes, there's a degree of irrationality, but not like that.
I don't think there is a reasonable explanation, to be honest. I mean, I can't think of one. I mean, unless they were threatened or, tied up or something like that, but the evidence doesn't support that. And so the position that I'm in is I don't think there is a reasonable explanation to explain away the 8-hour 911 call. I just don't.
The only attempted explanation I've heard is that they were traumatized. But supposedly they didn't know about the murders yet. So traumatized by seeing some guy holding a vacuum in the house? I don't get it. The trauma explanation would work, and I think this was Cyre's explanation. The trauma explanation would work if they knew the girls had been murdered.
Mm-hmm.
But if they knew the girls had been murdered at that time, you're not going to sleep. You're calling 911 and getting out of there.
Yeah, and we know by the phone data that's been released is Dylan wasn't sleeping.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Nor was Bethany. They weren't sleeping. If you're looking at the evidence, they weren't sleeping.
Somebody with a lot of say in this whole matter is seriously protecting Dylan and Bethany.
I
mean, it's obvious to me at this point.
It's hard to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and chat, do you guys know where where it came out first that they were all sleeping? Was that from law enforcement? Was that from a parent, a victim's family member? Where did that come from that they were all four sleeping? If you know, let us know. And huge shout out to Connor for getting this video. We greatly appreciate it. If you know him or you like his content, make sure you head over, give him a like and subscribe.
Absolutely.
Mr. Green in the documents. Okay, thanks, guys.
All right. Wait, and Mr. Green he's the University of Idaho president. Interesting.
Yeah, I got a lot of questions around that guy.
Yeah.
It was Chief Fry that said it at a press conference. Interesting. I've always wondered where that came from.
Yeah. All right.
Downstairs with the two of them and went upstairs, and that's when he saw Xana and Ethan.
Okay.
And then I would say, I guess just like any of and friends, maybe like, but from my understanding is that I know that all 5 of those of them talked to the cops that day. I don't know if I know.
Why do you think that they called and to come over instead of going upstairs themselves?
Because I really don't know.
Okay.
To put myself in their shoes, I would say they couldn't get a hold of their roommates, and they thought she had heard someone maybe in the house the night before, but was unsure.
They were a little bit worried.
Yeah, worried because they had tried calling and no one was answering. I will say,
Tried calling when? Both at 4:30, and later in the morning, huh?
hmm
Let's see. Here's a question. What are your thoughts on the possibility they were so intoxicated and tired they may have saw suspicious things but weren't thinking, were spooked, and stayed in Bethany's room?
Well, where I have a problem with this is that she's on many other platforms, that we know with respect to her cell data info. And so it's hard for me to think that either she was so intoxicated or she was in her frozen, grief shock phase, because she's editing, she's talking to many people on many different platforms during that time frame. So she's clearly operating in a way that she's not super incapacitated. So that's kind of the wall that I hit with that.
She was taking, editing, and deleting photos during this time that she was supposedly
and posting. So that's where I have a hard time going, she was too drunk. Because if you're doing that, you're somewhat coherent. And she even says, I don't know how much I drank. I don't know if I was dreaming. So I'm not convinced that she is super intoxicated whatsoever.
Yeah. All right. And I'm super annoyed by all the redactions. Every single name. It's ridiculous. Judge Hippler, Chief Fry, or whoever is in charge of that. If you don't want us looking at you guys, stop giving out such redacted information, or we're going to start thinking that there's stuff wrong with you guys.
Start thinking? Just kidding.
Maybe fingers need to be pointed elsewhere, as long as people are still covering up information related to this.
I lived in Moscow. I lived in a house. I lived in an apartment similar to that house, not like size-wise, but it just, I guess more of like not necessarily a party house, but like uncommon to hear for like someone to walk into your house just like drunk, or like it wasn't too uncommon to hear people up and moving around at that time.
So in that case, you might call someone else that to come.
And then had also when we talked to her, she said that she had heard Kaylee playing music earlier that night. So I don't know. I guess, and I know that they had all been drinking, all day the day before, and so I don't know. I guess she just, was just like a little freaked out from thinking that someone might have been in the house. I don't know. I don't know her that well, and I don't understand either.
Well, the whole thing with something like this is that the reason that we don't understand it is because it doesn't make any sense, right?
It doesn't make any sense.
Most crimes like this don't make sense to normal people. And
it's just, I don't know. It's like been stressful to hear everyone say that it was like a targeted attack, because I just don't understand why, like, knowing those like people and like just truly some of like the nicest people I've ever met, but also like that person could be anywhere now, and like who are they going to target next? Like, are they going after her friends? I've been getting so many follow requests. There's an Instagram page called The Mom, and it talks about like they posted a picture of this knife, and it's like talking about how they went into combat together and took out some bad guys, and it's just like,
is that a new Instagram page?
Instagram account?
Yeah, I have a screenshot. I don't know if you guys want to see it. It's just, but it's like anywhere I go, or sorry, my phone shattered yesterday, so it's like.
Okay, Kristen, do you know anything about that Instagram page?
I'm sorry, which one? The one they're talking about?
Yeah. With the
No,
knife,
not a whole lot.
everything.
but I'm sure there's people in our chat that do.
Okay, let me quell this rumor.
Yes, that's why I put it up there, Ron.
Nothing was cut off of Ethan and stuffed in his mouth. Okay, he was fully intact. Just he was definitely attacked with a knife. There were no body parts cut off, and that's directly from someone who has seen the autopsy photos, unredacted.
Yeah, and to further evidence that, I personally have asked every single expert, even Chris, if that had happened or not, and we get an unequivocal no. And so I think if we can kind of stop with any potential speculation that we're not sure, once we get the truth, I think it will help us hone into what's really important and the most relevant.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess the reason I want to address that is because that anything related to body parts being cut off, I don't want us to be led down following a red herring or something that just is not relevant. Ethan was fully intact, so there's nothing there and nothing that we're protecting or covering up. There's just nothing there. That is not what the facts are. And so the facts are he was stabbed. It appears he died because of a slash to his throat. He had other slash and stab injuries, and that's it. Nothing cut off.
Very excessive blood, though, that's for sure.
Yes.
There was one other really good comment. I already lost it.
Oh, the Moscow Coco, the Moscow Slayer, Moscow Slayer.
Yeah, we
page.
haven't got to that yet, Coco. We haven't got there. I know you have some receipts for us when we get there. We haven't got there yet.
So, but that's the IG page that she was talking about here.
Do you want to talk about that? I think Coco has some screenshots that we can put up if you want, Ron.
Yeah, I suppose if that's what I think she's talking about here is that
Okay.
Instagram page.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, I think you're right. Okay. So, keep talking, Ron. I'll figure out how we can get them.
Okay. But here, what I want you guys to know is our interest is absolutely 100% the truth. We want to find out what really happened. If we thought Brian did this, then we would be heading in that direction. The information, the facts that we're getting, even despite Cy Ray's interview and his certainty, I don't hold with that. And so if we're not trying to cover anything up, we don't want, if there's a legitimate area of inquiry, then we want to go down that road. So when we say there is nothing to the rumors about body parts being cut off, that's because we have investigated it. And we are convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that didn't happen.
Yeah, and I asked very bluntly if that happened so that there was no ambiguity. And all three or four of them said absolutely not, to the point where I was like, okay, I'm not asking this question again, because now I'm starting to feel like I potentially would spread misinformation, because we know unequivocally that was not the case. Yeah.
Throughout this, and you guys probably don't even know the extent of who we have been able to talk to. We've certainly interviewed a number of people. There are others who potentially have talked to us off the record, but who we have reason to trust. So if we can tell you guys something, we will tell you. We're not hiding anything. We're not protecting anybody. Sometimes if like journalists do, if we have a source that says, I will talk to you, but you can't tell anybody, you can't reveal it, then we need to honor that. And it's a lot of what we do as attorneys is we have things that we can't tell about our clients to other people. And so we're used to doing that. If you trust us that the truth is what we're after, we'll give you everything that we know that we can to lead you down that road. And to with you down that road, because that's what we want to find out.
Yeah. And I see a lot of people in the comments when they hear that we've had side conversations. That is very customary before you have any interview. And it's not even going over the substance issues. It's just, okay, they're not pre-made questions. We're not we didn't send Cy Ray 200 questions in advance that he could go research and then be ready to answer on the fly. That never happened. Because I know there were inferences that we were talking to Cy or some of these other experts on the side. And then therefore we were either leaving out information or we had somehow served up them a softball where they can just answer because they knew that we were going to ask that. That has not been the case for a single person. We talk about the issues that we would like to go over, and we are officers of the court as an attorney. And so we have to be very careful to not ask questions that would allow an expert to break that duty of confidentiality that they have with working for that team. Now, if they want to do it voluntarily, hey, have at it. But we are still attorneys, and we have to be careful with the questions that are asked if we believe that it would violate any sort of NDA or duty of confidentiality.
Yeah.
All right, Ron, I think Alicia's got us
Does she?
one of the pictures is on the stage.
Oh, there it is.
And thank you, D. Moore.
Slayer.
You look a little wild today in the chat, but you know I love you.
Yeah, and Sam isn't even here.
I know. D. Moore has a little crush on Sam. It's weird with one of us not being here. Oh. But like I said, our schedules are so crazy. So trying to get the three of us together once or twice a week is easier said than done.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So this is one of the photos. See, never dull moment with my Millie. Last night I carried in the comment. Yeah, I completely believe there are guys who just love their knives and love weapons, and sometimes it's a toxic masculinity thing. Sometimes it's I just really like knives. Sometimes it's I'm a hunter. Knives are important to me. I know people who are very into knives who will make them, and because people are really into them, and it's kind of a cultural type thing. And this is interesting because this appears to be a K-bar. It's very similar to a K-bar, not the sheath that we were talking about. But apparently, so do we know when this site was put up? Shortly before, shortly after?
I'm not super familiar with this IG page, so I can't help out a whole lot yet.
Okay. Coco, do you know about that? In the interview?
Have we just not gotten to it yet?
It's the Instagram page called the Moscow. What it is? The Moscow Slayer, I think.
Yeah.
They post a picture of this knife. It's like talking about how they went into combat together, took out some bad guys. Said it's a new one. So it looks like around that time.
Around the time of the murders?
Yeah. Do I think it's related to this? Probably not. I don't know.
That would be one hell of a coincidence if it's not related and there's two knives on pictures on their page and there was over 200 stab wounds. That would, but they probably didn't even go down that rabbit hole. They probably didn't even investigate that page and who's behind it, right?
Yeah. Here's a question. Terry Smith, Thank you, Terry. Terry, you and your husband kind of have the vibe that me and Motherfunker have. She's we got a lot of pictures that look like that.
Yes, there are lots of knives in Idaho. That is for sure.
Okay, let's talk about the Cyray interview for a minute. Is that okay, Kristen?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. It was not a secret to us going into this interview that Cy had potentially told some people that he had an ulterior motive for coming on the interview. I think he wanted to, I think testifying in this case and some of the things that he said, especially in his report, could probably have an effect on his relationship with law enforcement and prosecutors, who he exclusively works with and for. So we knew going into this that he had a purpose, an ulterior motive for this. So we went into that knowing and understanding that. Does that mean we don't like him? No, he was a nice guy. He was pretty forthright in the interview. Well, maybe that's not the best word for it. He was accommodating to us. Yes, he was a bit evasive at times. Was there questions we would have liked to have asked and followed up a little more on? Yep. Did we have 10 hours with him that we could do that? Nope. We had identified, and we had met many times before this, Kristen and Sam and I, talking about preparing for it and identifying where we wanted to go, how much time possibly we wanted to spend on certain areas. And there were specific things we wanted to be able to get into based on our prior 3-hour conversation with him when we first talked to him. There may be some areas that probably a lot of people would have liked us to go into that we didn't, mostly because we had already discussed it with him and didn't lead anywhere interesting to us. And also I just want to stress again that there are, even as lawyers, there are different ways for us to question witnesses. There's the way that we talk to people in deposition, which is information gathering, getting out their story. What are they going to say? And this was kind of more like that. And I think most of what we would have with people here, because this is not a debate channel, this is not a confrontational channel. We're about information and talking and discussing, and we want things to be civil. We would take what I would do in preparing, for instance, for cross-examination and trial, is I would take the deposition and all other information, and I would come up with a series of questions then based on that. So I would take something, if we were going to, for instance, cross-examine Cy in trial, I'd take some things that he would, that he said in his deposition with us and say, well, isn't it true that you said this? And isn't it true that in this you did this and this and this and this? Ideally, he would only be answering yes or no to any question. That wouldn't be his interview. I mean, there would be some people that might be interested in that. That's not really the purpose here and what we're doing. We wanted to get information out of him. We wanted him to put his story and the things that he believes out here so that we could then all together discuss them. And we've seen a lot of people discussing Cy's interview.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, because we already had knowledge of where some of his conclusions and his theories were going.
Mm-hmm.
As a team, we decided, you know what, we need to start preparing the true crime audience because the amount of people that thought that he was going to exonerate Brian and that he was literally the golden goose, and everyone was putting all their money on Cy, and we thought it was important to start preparing people for that, because when you think that someone is literally the one that's going to come save the day, and then you get on an interview and he says that he thinks he's guilty, we were trying to eliminate some of that shock, and that way people could process it and move forward. But the best part of that interview, or what our ultimate goal was, and I know I've said this before, our ultimate goal was to get Cy to admit on a public platform to every one of the investigation problems, whether something was modified, altered, hidden, destroyed. And I do think that we did a pretty good job getting that out. Now, I would love to see Cy interview with other creators. We truly believe that as a community, all of us are better together, because some have more strengths and some have weaknesses where the other creator is better at that. But we hope that other creators get that interview, because when you're doing it and you're in the heat of the moment, there was 2 questions I didn't get to ask that I probably have lost sleep over for a week. One of those was, he was writing all of Ann Taylor's questions for trial. That was something that, that was in addition to him being the cell data forensic expert. He was writing all of the cross-examination questions for Ann Taylor. So you could tell there's a very thick bond there, and there's a lot of trust. So I asked everyone in the chat, why the heck hasn't Ann Taylor called Cy Ray out? Because Turvey came on, and I think he kind of put Ann on notice as well, that something had changed in her. But at the end of the day, we have Turvey saying there's not a single piece of evidence that would put him in this crime scene, at the crime scene. But that's obviously still protecting Brian. And then we have Cy Ray, who was one of the biggest experts for the defense, writing cross-examination questions, really close with Ann Taylor, going on, this is the most fucked up investigation I've ever seen. But you know what? Trust me, he's so guilty. So that's why is there no statement from Ann, Ron? Is it because he didn't go after Ann herself?
Yeah, and I don't think you're going to see one from her about Cy Ray.
I agree. What does that show, Ron? What is that? Does that tell us anything if we don't see a notice about Cy Ray or Ann Taylor's disgust with what he shared with us on our show?
Yeah, well, I think there was some potential communication relationship there between Cy Ray and Ann Taylor that has not come out.
Yes, and we are not inferring a romantic relationship.
No.
So nobody take this and go send it to Cy and say that we were inferring that he was in a relationship with Ann. That's not what we're saying.
Yeah.
But it does look like there was a pretty significant friendship and a significant level of trust. If I'm having someone write my questions for 25 experts or law enforcement on the other side, I am relying on you to make sure you know that every question is legitimate.
Yeah. The easiest way to get somebody to shut up and stop talking is to confront them. No, you're lying. No, you said this. No, this. No, this. What you really want to do is to get them talking, to get them feel comfortable. People will talk more if they feel comfortable with you, and if they feel like you're letting them talk. We can ask questions in ways that are less confrontational. And people are right. He could have at any time said, you know what, thank you. I think we've hit my limit, and we're done. So we want to keep him on as long as we could, and talking as long as we could.
And Kathy, we completely agree with you.
And to be honest, it is a mentally and emotionally draining thing to conduct such a long interview for us as well. So I think by the time we hit 3 hours, that all 3 of us were kind of mentally drained as well. Not quite as sharp maybe as we would have been as we were in the beginning. So it's I come out of a day of trial just completely drained and done with thinking and done with that. So there's a lot going on with something like this. But we were very happy with the result. Yeah,
and yes, everybody, I was on my list at the top of my 27 pages of notes. that we wanted to hit on that jacket, the green jacket. Unfortunately, with everything going on, that was one of the questions I forgot, and that I've lost sleep over not asking that question. But
we don't get to, like in a deposition, when we get to the end of a deposition, we can say, hey, let's take a break. I want to take 10, 15 minutes, whatever. Look at my notes, see if I forget anything. We don't get to do that in a live on-air interview, unfortunately. Yeah, I think we got most of what we wanted to out of him, including really hammering on his opinions and the things that he said in his report, particularly as he seemed to be inferring or implying that there was some potentially telephone evidence, something from the cell data, putting Brian at the scene. There were multiple places in his report where he said there is zero contact. The Brian and any of the victims were never in the same place together. There was no contact at all between them. Stuff that you would expect to be there if he had identified them and targeted them as victims of a murder. So my sense was the information he had that he believes shows Brian is guilty is probably a lot of the stuff that's coming up and going to be coming up in the Washington State lawsuit. Some of the reports that there were with him being kind of creepy there and things like that, which I don't know how true those are. His phone was absolutely devoid of anything you would expect to see in someone who is a stalker of anybody of any sort, or engaged in anything illegal or beyond. I mean, that was a clean phone from what I understand. All the pictures were him. All the messages were with his family, and that's it.
Hold on, Ron, one thing to add. I don't know who has watched the new documentary, the AMC one that came out yesterday. And this is just one little issue on that documentary. If you haven't, you could go watch it. You might want to go have a stiff drink or punch a wall while you're watching it. It's just another one of the plug and play videos. I mean, there was one time he was talking about it was still in the summer and there was snow on the ground. There was so much in the documentary, I can't even tell you that was wrong. But they played about, 15 to 20 of Brian's selfies from his phone. And they were really trying to make anyone who doesn't know a lot about this case believe that those selfies were weird, they were inconsistent, they weren't evidenced by his pattern of life. But I will say, from everything we've heard from any of the experts, is that he had hundreds of selfies on his phone. And that was very, very normal. And so putting out 15 selfies and saying that, he must have done it because he took that picture in the mirror in the bathroom with the thumbs up, that is just ludicrous. It's just ignorant.
Yeah.
And we'll do a show next week going through the documentary. There's part 1 and part 2, but I can't wait till a documentary is made on the other side of this case.
Yeah. Someone said they couldn't hear me. I'm not muted, am I? For anyone, you guys can hear me okay? Do I need to yell?
And yes, Katie, I thought this was very interesting too, because I have always questioned from the very, very beginning why the beverages in Bethany's rooms were not tested immediately.
Yeah. All right. That's a clue. Let's get back to the interview. All right.
There's never a dull moment with my quote unquote, this is the last knife I carried into combat. Might have taken out a few bad dudes with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, my assumption is it's not the person that did it, but it's just that's everywhere now. And it's just so hard. And I know that no one knows what happened, but it's all of these wild accusations that I'm seeing everywhere. And
Who else are people accusing?
Um,
Okay.
but
But you said you were with him
yeah, I have
at
a
the
picture.
at the bar.
Yeah, I have a picture with him at the bar at like 1:50
In Boise.
yeah.
So
And
you,
it's in the bathroom, which is like a pretty
mhm.
like
Do you mind pulling that up real quick?
I know. I guess I could show you. They're
And,
not the best.
You know, and obviously there's people up in Moscow investigating. They're asking us down here to because everyone left
Everybody
school, you know, and so that way we can tell them, no, we've seen a picture, and you know,
We're not going to even bug him unless he has some information for us.
I wish he did.
Can you say this comment that popped up?
Oh, sorry,
Can you go
Ron.
back to that one.
Yeah, give me 1 second.
That just, I remember the trust me. When I was a brand new lawyer, I sat in on it was a federal case involving a prison inmate who had been shot. And I remember the prosecutor was an assistant attorney general, got up and all during his opening statement kept telling the jury, and this, trust me, and this, and trust me. And it's like, that really is the mentality. Like, you should believe me because I'm who I am. I'm a assistant attorney general. So yeah, there's a lot of trust me on this. Trust us. You can't just blindly trust somebody, especially someone who might have a separate interest in something like this.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, I actually wrote down on my notepad as we were doing this, so we're just supposed to trust you. Like, that was my note, because he kept saying repeatedly, if you knew what I knew, or if you've seen what I've seen, there is no question, and he's unequivocally guilty, and he did it by himself, and there was no cleanup. Sorry, I had to throw the last one in there. But it really was like, hey, this hasn't been released, so you can't see it, and I don't know if it will ever get released, but by the way, I'm Cy Ray, trust us. And, I just think that that's not the way the law works. I mean, I want to see exactly what you relied on, what evidence, and does it connect A to B? Because I am still under the belief that I don't believe every expert had access to every area of the crime.
Yeah.
And I just don't. And so are you making that on actual evidence that you saw personally? Or are you going off what another expert said and some pictures? That's my concern with that. And this question goes right into it as well. Let's see, I'm probably going to lose it. I can't remember now. I can't remember. Man, my brain really needs a break. All right, I'll think of it and I'll figure it out and go back.
Someone who is worthy of being trusted doesn't have to demand your trust or ask for it or tell you to trust them. You'll just see it.
Here it is, Ron. This was the question right here.
What kind of defense would hire a guy like Cy Ray if he's a guilter? Well, he was.
Let me ask you a question, Ron. Yeah. If you knew that he had done 150 trials and 149 of them had been for the prosecution side of any criminal case, for me, that would be a big, huge red flag. I think there's moral and ethical inherent issues. Even if I don't believe, I just don't think you can get around that. But what do you think about that?
Well, I don't mind that. I like, if I'm on the defense and I've got somebody who is only testified for the prosecution, then I can argue that this is so, your opinion is so strong on this that you came for the first time to testify on behalf of the defense. The other thing with regard to Cy Ray believing Brian's guilty or not, that doesn't matter at all, because whether an expert is not going to believe or not going to be asked, do you believe he's guilty? Do you believe he's innocent? Because that is the question that the fact finder, here the jury, is supposed to determine. And so you can't ask, and that would be an objectionable question, is do you believe Brian's guilty? Do you believe he's innocent? It would be irrelevant, because that's not within the scope of the expert, and that is the ultimate fact that is being tried. That's the whole purpose of the trial. So she he was retained, or I guess not officially retained, but his opinions were supposedly limited to the cell tower report, the cast reports. And so as long as his opinions are limited to that, the defense could call him for that. And then cross-examination had to be within that scope. The cross-examination couldn't then go and ask him, well, what is there any evidence that you saw other than this that you think Brian's good? They wouldn't be able to do that because they're limited to the scope of his what he's being offered for here. So I think it was risk. I don't know it's that risky to have him there, because the attorneys could very well believe that he's guilty and still try, and that's irrelevant, because it's the job of the defense to make the prosecution prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. It's not the job of the defense to convince anybody necessarily that Brian is innocent. It's kind of the other way. So I don't think that was a huge deal, and I don't think there's a lot of danger of getting into that, because he's never going to be asked on the stand, do you believe Brian's guilty?
Well, we would have hoped not. We have to do, as attorneys, we have to do continuing education every year. We have to report, we have to check in, and they make us do classes on bias and addiction. They make us do all these different courses, because being an attorney is probably one of the top 5 most stressful jobs. And I took a class last summer about the inherent bias, and it's just every one of us has it inside of us on some level, where we want to or we're not, or we're intentionally trying to have a different outlook on a case, even though in 149 cases I was thinking this. And that was a concern for me, because he did tell us that morally and ethically this was a hard case for him to take. And so I think in the back of my head, I'm always thinking, like, you are one of my biggest experts for my client. This is life or death. And that part of his brain is always going to be, he's going to be challenged with himself. And so I would be concerned that even if he wasn't trying to be biased, that it would hover throughout all the work he was doing. So I do not believe I would have hired Cy Ray once I found out the 99.9999 of his expert testimony was based on being on the prosecution side.
I prefer experts who are balanced. It's not always possible, but I would love some who testify sometimes on plaintiff, sometimes on, or the prosecution, sometimes on the defendant. But yeah,
I agree.
Oh,
and another
well,
thing
I'm glad I can make somebody laugh.
Yeah, and we can put it to bed that he was paid. Cy Ray was not a paid expert. We asked that multiple times, and he did not want money for this case to work on, and he also didn't request, based on his conversation or during our interview, even reimbursement for him going out to Moscow. So, any expenses that would be related to him going there. And I want to just make sure that's clear, because I know a lot of people want to say that he's a paid expert, but he was not paid. I do know that.
Yeah. And another thing is, if there's still some time for post-conviction relief under the state statute, then there's potentially federal. If something happens and this gets turned around, I guarantee there's no way Cy Ray is going to be testifying in a remanded case.
I agree with you on that. And Brandon, I'm right there with you, bro. I barely trust myself half the time. Working full time, raising 3 kids. Yeah, it's I'm right there. I would not trust myself on everything as well.
Brandon, I think that's a sign of intelligence, is knowing enough that to question even yourself and your own biases and everything. I know you were saying that in a joking way, but that's that's actually a pretty intelligent thing to say. And I would ask anybody, always question yourself. Question, why do I believe this? If you believe something, why?
I agree.
All right. Let's get going, or we're going to be here all night, huh?
It was, 1:15 a.m. It's a live photo. There's a few of them. He had been walking past, and he's one of our best friends, and we were taking pictures in there, and he like jumped in, and like it's at the very like front of the bathroom, like jumped in, and we were laughing. He's like, "Oh no, don't tell my girlfriend," because like she's our best friend. And then that was 30 minutes after is when I had FaceTimed her.
Okay. And who were the other two girls in there?
And then this one is.
Okay.
And I think
Ron, is that redacted or is that?
So I've seen their
positive?
names, but I have.
Yeah,
But I've also talked to.
That's redacted.
Okay, I didn't know if
Again.
she took a long pause and that looked suspicious. Well, the redactions look suspicious too, but I didn't know if she was taking a long pause.
Yeah. Nope, redacted.
To a million people, so I'm trying to keep everybody straight.
I think that we said that you guys had called her too, and
yeah.
So, but yeah, it was us. We were with him like basically all night.
What was you said you knew girlfriend better than you knew him. What was her name?
Her name's, I think it's like or something. I could look it up really quick.
Yeah.
I didn't know her that well, but she loved me, and so since we were like in the same Greek fam and like we were always around, she would always talk to me and she would ask me to hang out. But yeah, anytime I like hung out with her, he was there. But yeah, I didn't ever really talk to Jack. Again, I don't know anything. Like, I don't know. And everyone has been saying that it was in the video, and it looks like him.
Well, just to put your mind at ease, cooperating fully.
Who's that with
I
a
don't
J
know.
or a CH?
It's not Jake, is it? Anyone in the chat know?
Could be. Could be. Jack. It could be. They could be talking about Jack Showalter there. This is so the redactions are so they interfere so much with the flow of what's being said. It really make it hard to follow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks like Chad is saying Jack Showalter. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was talking about the hoodie guy, which we know is Jack Showalter.
Yes.
I think they're
And
still talking about
and
him.
she's in Boise, and the night, I guess right before the crimes or leading into it, she was hanging out with Maddie's boyfriend, who is also friends with Jack Showalter and Cece.
Yeah.
Okay, that is good. Well, it makes me sad that everyone's like knows that it's him in the video, because.
Do they say why they think that video is so important? It's a bunch of people leaving a bar getting.
I know.
Like,
I think that the reason they have thought it was important, or people think it's important, because it's the only thing. It's the last video of Kaylee and Maddie. It's the only thing that people have to hold on to, and so they're gonna take that and run. He looks weird in the video, but like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like you can, make anything with that, and then he doesn't order anything, and he's just like kind of standing there the whole time, and then he sees Maddie and Kaylee leave, and he's like, and then just darts off, like doesn't say goodbye to whoever he was talking to. That's the only thing that I found weird, but it's like, again, you can take that video and spin it as many different ways as you want, and I don't know, like the way I looked at it is, oh, maybe he thought he was going to get a ride with him, and they didn't give him a ride. Like, you can't hear any sound in that video, so it's hard. But yeah, that's all I know is that people are saying that that's him in the video.
And Kaylee and Xana and Ethan, do you know if any of them use drugs much or any of that kind of stuff?
No, none of them. I
Okay.
know for sure Maddie and Kaylee did not. I don't think Xana did. And
A little bit.
if she did, it was like maybe like at a concert,
Okay.
like something like that. But no,
They're not hardcore drug users or anything
absolutely
like that.
not. Not even like smoking weed or none of that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just-
What did they all do for money? Did their parents or did they all have jobs? Or I mean,
I don't know Ethan. Maddie and Kaylee were both servers at Mad Creek. Or no, not Kaylee. Maddie and Xana. Maddie has been a server there for. She got that job, I want to say, sophomore year, so 2 years now. I think Kaylee or Xana started working there in this year, maybe over summer. Kaylee, I believe she had a job, but I don't know what. She was about to finish.
Yeah, I just want to bring one thing up. Kaylee had a job, and anytime we have inquired with any of the experts about what specifically that job was, yes, I know she allegedly had plans to go to Texas and move in with someone and have a job, but in the book Broken Plea, it really focuses on what Kaylee's job was. It doesn't say, because Kaylee was a very meticulous person. Just look at her room. Everything is very organized and her calendar is set. But look how long she paused when the investigator asked McConkey, right? What does Kaylee do? And she takes a really deep sigh and goes, I don't really know what. Why? Why is that nobody knows exactly what Kaylee's doing?
Reminds me of Barney and How I Met Your Mother. Or Chandler and Friends. Nobody knows what his job is.
Yeah, and then you think in all the other interviews as well, nobody's really claiming to be besties with Kaylee.
Yeah.
Everybody's kind of doing the opposite. Yeah, I partied with her. Yeah, I've seen her around. Yeah, I've been to her house, but I don't really know her. So that information combined with the fact that nobody really knew what she did to earn money, I just think that that's an area that should have been explored a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. All right.
School, from my understanding. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Any rumors? We heard a rumor that that Kaylee might have a stalker or something, and we're trying to iron out, is that a rumor, or did Kaylee say something to somebody, or
Yeah, I was quite confused about that. I don't know. I mean, I could tell you the two stories I heard of it. I heard that Kaylee, Maddie, and Xana had gone to Winco, and Maddie and Xana had stayed in the car while Kaylee ran in, and while she was in there, she I guess kind of felt like this guy was following her, just kind of lurking.
Now, I want to reiterate again from what I got. Maybe we'll want to do an episode, Kristen, where we go through Cy Ray's report directly.
Mm-hmm.
That came out shortly before our interview with him. But I thought it was pretty clear in the report. There was never any instance where the phone records going back to June of 2022 up until the time of the murders, where Brian's phone was in the same location at the same time as any of the victims, nor did it ever frequent the same locations that the victims frequented. So if there was a stalker at Winco who was there when she was there, either it wasn't Brian or he didn't have his phone.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think Sai's position might have been, if all of these cell phones were all examined at the same time, months after this has happened very quickly, that it would show, or that he could prove that they had overlapping, locations. But according to his report, they were never at this. Prosecution could not put BK at the same location at the same time with any of the victims, except they both had reached out and contacted the U-Haul company. But that's saying a lot, that there still couldn't be a connection to the victims. They just couldn't prove it.
And they had zero phone evidence, location evidence, so anything putting Brian at the scene ever at the house.
Yeah, which was also evidenced by Thompson's amazing change of plea speech. So in that documentary, again, I don't want to give too many spoilers, but they kept bringing up that they could put BK near the King Road residence 23 times prior to the murders. And I'm just like, yeah, but it also could have put him at 20 other places. So, and if you have people that are watching this that don't know a lot about the case, and they're just, listening or watching these documentaries, it is crazy how many people will just blindly follow and believe exactly what these documentaries are saying. But that does not mean that we could put him at the residence, because all of the experts have said we can't put him here. Thompson went on the record, I can't put him in the house. So if you can't put him at the house, I mean, that's a big issue for the prosecution to overcome.
Yeah, and that's when you got a house where multiple people live, and a house that is, it was built out over the years, apparently added on to, so you don't have a clean floor plan for him to be as efficient as he allegedly was. That's that's tough to believe.
Mhm.
All right, let's get going.
And then she had gone out to, it freaked her out enough to go get in the car, and then she locked the doors immediately, and some man tried opening the car door.
Okay.
And
What day was this? How recent was it?
I guess now about 3 weeks ago, I would say 2 to 3 weeks ago. And I also heard that there was one time she was taking Murphy potty, or taking him on a walk. I think she was taking him to the bathroom, but at the end of the house in front of them, there's that dumpster.
Okay.
And she said that I think that's the dumpster they're talking about. She said that there was a man watching her, and she called back, and she was like, when are you guys going to be home? I don't know what time of day it was, and was like, oh, I'm going to be home soon. And that's it. I don't know. Maddie and I were really close, and I was with her, not obviously this last weekend, but the weekend before. She had flown down, and I was with her on Saturday, and she never mentioned anything like that. And so
to clarify, these are stories you didn't hear from them. You just heard rumors going around about it.
Okay. It was her roommates that told me.
Oh, just now.
Just recently.
Just recently.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I hope he's asking.
I think that it was
the roommate
that told me.
What was that?
I said, I hope during that redaction, he's finding out who actually started that rumor.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that's why it's redacted, even though it shouldn't be. But again, there's a total opportunity to go down and have a ton of follow-up questions regarding that.
Yeah. I know there's been a lot of speculation about, what really Kaylee was in. I think it was a regular mainstream job from everything that I gather. I don't think there's anything prurient involved in it. I think it was pretty legit. Probably some sort of marketing type stuff is my guess. All right.
Ron, you had a question up here that I was gonna send to you. Yeah, here we go. From Terry Smith.
Yeah, I thought from the beginning that he did it or was involved in some way. I definitely, the thing that really got me was the 8-hour delay between the murders and calling 911 and what was with Dylan and all. But I think I still believed that Brian was involved. Why else would he plead guilty? But the more evidence that I see come out of this case, and again, it's what's being released. I have no control over what the city is releasing. And if everything they're releasing leads me in another direction, I'll follow that direction. If they say, oh, but no, there's more, well, I want to see it then. But what I'm seeing doesn't match up with Brian being the killer. And in fact, I haven't even seen anything, even with Cyre's interview. I haven't seen anything evidence-based that even leads me in that direction. Everything leads me away from Brian, and including Cyre. I think his report is the most important with that. His report just strengthens my belief that Brian did not do it or was not involved.
So you didn't believe that Brian was guilty based on the fact that Mr. Ray was making comments like he is the best candidate? That didn't make you believe that BK was guilty?
Well, there's a lot of uncertainty with someone being a candidate or not. And It may be that at some point he was a good candidate. Maybe there's other evidence out there that suggests to Cyre that it was Brian. But we've talked to 2 other experts directly involved in the case, plus Chris Whitcomb, who wrote the book, who also spoke with others. And none of them seem to have the same opinion or seem to think that there's anything but exculpatory evidence that's hidden. So
yeah, you have Turvey saying that there is exculpatory evidence that would likely exonerate BK, and then you have Ray saying that this is the most screwed up investigation and going through the issues of what made that a faulty investigation, and that it was intentional, but by the way, he's guilty. And it's interesting that those 2 very widely different conclusions. Now, and that makes me question, was there any sort of internal feud going on with respect to the defense team? Was there 2 different theories or conclusions that were being pushed to Anne? And they're very different. You have Cyre who's going for innocence, and then you have Turvey was going for innocence. There's not a single piece of evidence that connects him to the crime scene. And then you have Cyre, on the other hand, saying he did it, but we need to attack the faulty investigation and the violation of the constitutional rights. And we're just going for beyond a reasonable doubt. So, and those are 2 very, very different theories. And so I wonder, was that an issue with the defense team? And from what I believe with Ann Taylor is, I don't believe every expert had the evidence in every area. I just don't.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Because at first, there was a rumor going around that it was Xana that had a stalker.
Okay.
But there were no stories, and I guess no one had really heard. And so I think that there's just obviously, I think anytime anyone tells a story, they add their own special twist, right? And so it's
you're 100% right.
By the time it gets to me, it's
But Beth was there for these events.
Yes, yeah. She said that Kaylee had called her and was like, "When are you going to be home?" And then,
do you remember about when that happened? Okay.
No.
That's fine.
And yeah, I don't know. I guess the other thing that I know, I don't know. I feel like I would assume this is stuff that everyone knows is which was Kaylee's ex-boyfriend, had woken up that next morning with like 16 missed calls from them at 3 a.m.
Again, it's released. It's in the public that is Jack DeCour. Why are they redacting his name?
No clue.
From
10 from Kaylee and 6 from Maddie is what I was told, and some texts. But and I think that, again, I don't know at all, and I heard that it just said, bruh, what the fuck, wake up. Like, it didn't. And Kaylee has been known to like call a ton of times, just like maybe she wanted a ride or something like that.
Okay.
She was just telling me one time that they were in Coeur d'Alene and was in the bathroom, and Kaylee had called her 20 times because she just wanted to know where it was. So I don't know. I guess it just seemed important to me because
that's the sort of fact that is, I think, significant, because you want to look at what kind of, this is actually kind of the stuff that Cyree was looking at, is does she have a habit of calling people over and over and over and over like that? And this Kaylee is telling us that she may have. So maybe those calls aren't as indicative of something unusual as we might otherwise think. The other thing is, how, for instance, Cy thinks it's very coincidental, isn't it, that Brian left his home a few hours before the murders and then was found, turned his phone off, allegedly, and reconnected south of Moscow. But when we pushed him on that, he had the tendency of doing that. That was part of his pattern of life, as I like to say, to do that up to once a week. So is it really that unusual? So like if Kaylee would do that to people, call, then maybe those calls to Jack are not as important as we might think. But that's the sort of information that I think is important. So this is some good information from this Kaylee.
Yeah, and I think you were referring to both issues, that it was normal for him to turn off his phone at some point during the day. Me, I never turn off my phone unless it dies, like maybe once every 3 months. So it would not be a pattern of life of evidence if I turned off my phone. That would not be normal. And then also with him going on night drives, allegedly near the King house. And I think that number that they use is 23, but I have so many questions with respect to how many businesses are within that same range of near. That word near is so incredibly vague and ambiguous.
Yeah. There is a tendency for people we want to interpret evidence in a way that conforms with our opinions or our views. That's something that we as lawyers, that investigators, experts really have to guard against and really have to train ourselves not to do.
I agree.
Right.
it was the night of something big that happened, but I guess I don't think that neither Kaylee nor Maddie would call for help instead of the police if
there was something going on.
Yeah.
Now, Kaylee.
Okay, that I think is significant. Well, no. I guess that's Kaylee or Maddie, not Dylan. She's saying I don't think there's a lot of double negatives here. I don't think that either Kaylee or Maddie would call for help instead of the police if there's something going on. Because a lot has been said, well, why didn't Dylan and Bethany call the police? And this seems to suggest that it would be normal for young women in that situation to think first, call the police. No, I don't know. Maybe I'm making too much of that.
No, I think it's interesting. I think they're I think they're trying to come up with some reasonable explanation for that, but I don't think they can come up with it like we talked about earlier in the show.
Yeah.
I know that one of the experts said that it was basically just because they were a college student, and if we could go back to our college years, that every time we did something stupid, we, would be millionaires. But I don't think that was the case in this case.
Some of us would be. I towed the line I was pretty straight arrow. I might be 100 air if
Yes.
I did not. Yeah, I lived a boring life as a young college student.
Yep, you and your Mountain Dew, Ron. Cocaine, yes. She does look older, though. I noticed that as well. And correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, guys. It's my understanding that Kaylee and McConkey and Dylan were all in the same sorority. Is that correct? I think that's my understanding.
Pi Phi, she said, I think.
Yeah, and I know she had already graduated because I think she graduated the year prior, I think is what she said at the beginning. Yeah. But no, that Greek bond goes deep.
Yeah.
And Jack, they'd known each other for a long time, right?
Really long time.
And they sort of dated for a little while.
They dated for about like years.
Okay, but more recently they were just kind of friends.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, just
I mean, I know they maybe were hooking up a little bit, but
yeah, not dating.
So there was no animosity. I mean, I know they were broken up as far as a couple, but they weren't.
Their families are still, I think, really close, and they were.
So they're still friends with each other and stuff like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Ron, can you pause that? From the very beginning, I had been skeptical of how amicable their breakup was. You can still be somewhat civil, hey, we're on the same campus. We can show up in an event, but I never believed that this storyline that has been pushed with so many people, that they were still really, really close. And I mean, Kaylee has said, on the record, that JD was like having a child. Okay. So I have never, ever, ever bought that storyline that they were good friends. You date for 5 or 6 years and then you break up and then you're hooking up with other people and you're all in this area together. I just don't think that anybody would have been super cool with that. And hey, let's hang out every day together, even though we broke up. And I just think it's interesting how hard they push that narrative.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the first person you look at is the ex-boyfriend, the ex-husband, especially if they recently broke up. This is the unusual situation, I think, where there's a murder and a recent breakup, and they don't think it was the ex-boyfriend.
I agree.
Who I am told had blood at his house that was never tested.
Yeah, it's interesting. And that goes back to that press conference where they cleared 90 people within a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And they didn't even take his fingerprints until what, 2025? I think it was June. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but that was 2-3 years after the crime. Like and he was listed as one of their number 1 suspects on their documents. So I don't know. The whole thing just seems absolutely crazy to me.
Do we know if he ever bought a K-bar knife? I've certainly never heard anything about that.
Yeah, I would love to see his Amazon click history as well.
I'd like to see how many of these guys involved or surrounding this bought a K-bar knife in the previous, 3 years, 4 years?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that number would be quite high.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the fraternity brothers in their interviews actually admitted that they had had one. Yeah. And obviously hunting is a very big thing up there in Moscow. And so my guess is that, Ron, we would find that most of these people would have a knife or access to a knife.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is a really good point, Sophie. We know that he was struggling at some point after the breakup with his classes. It was inferred that it was due to the breakup with Kaylee that he was emotionally or physically struggling. But yeah, I think they went above and beyond to try to make all of us believe that Jack had nothing to do with this. And I said it from the beginning, the more that you push this down our throats, the less credible it is to me.
Yeah. Now, I will say this. I went through the autopsy report pretty carefully, looked at all of the stab wounds and everything. There are a lot of wounds that are very consistent with a K-bar knife. So I have little doubt that a K-bar knife was involved. But it also happens to be, it appears, one of the most popular types of knife like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember it from a K-bar from my Boy Scout days. But we certainly had, there were popular knives that lots of us would have. K-bar seems to be very, very popular right now. And I think I went on the K-bar site. There are hundreds of different variations that you can buy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So.
And what there was one interview, remember, Ron, where he basically just shows a picture of the knife and it was like, this is like what you saw, right? And it was so now if there was ever a leading question, that was it. But when Ron and I went and looked up how many K-bars there were, and there were hundreds and hundreds. And we know that Idaho, it is more common than not likely to have a knife.
Yeah. All right.
And it's not the only knife. We know that there was the knife that Hunter Johnson was holding. And then we also have the potential or alleged knife that was on Kopaka's roof. So if that's, if that is in fact 100% true, then we have 3 knives that we are aware about. And then remember the knife that they found, and they were questioning whether or not that was part of the crime. And I think their position was that it had nothing to do with it. The one that was like taped together. So there are multiple knives being talked about throughout the last almost 4 years.
Yeah, it does appear that a lot of them were followed up on very well.
Mm-hmm.
And you said the texts and calls that had were 3 a.m.-ish?
Yeah. Yeah, 3 a.m.
Okay.
I think that someone said the exact time was like 2:50, but
okay, but close to.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that it was Kaylee's sister that told Jane when I was there or something. I don't know.
Okay. And then did or say anything else to you about either the events that night or something else, anything else leading up to it that seemed like it could be important?
No, all she told me was that Kaylee and Maddie had gotten home from grub truck, and Maddie was like mad at Kaylee, or Kaylee was mad at Maddie because Maddie kept eating her food, and they were just upstairs like laughing. And it was the 4 of them, all 4 roommates. Santa was already asleep, and she said that they thought about going to get more grub truck, and then
Wait a minute. Xana was already asleep?
Yeah, I caught that too.
Because it was supposedly Xana who ordered food at 4 in the morning. Or no, 2 in the morning, and it was delivered at 4.
Yeah, play that part again, Ron, really quick. I caught that as well.
Okay.
Maddie had gotten home from grub truck, and Maddie was like mad at Kaylee, or Kaylee was mad at Maddie because Maddie kept eating her food, and they were just upstairs like laughing. And it was the 4 of them, all 4 roommates. Santa was already asleep, and she said that they thought about going to get more grub truck, and then just decided against it.
Yeah. So we know Maddie was pretty drunk, was very drunk from her toxicology report. Kaylee, not so much. And actually Xana, not so much, but that is interesting because nobody's even certain when Xana got home, and here we have Xana was already asleep, and this would have been what time? Around, was this 1:30 or around 2?
Yeah, and I would have asked her right
Okay.
after, and how do you know that Xana was sleeping? And who told you that Xana was sleeping? You know, if she says, oh, my friend. Again, there's a whole trail of follow-up questions, because sitting here today, we still don't know what time exactly Ethan and Xana got back home, whether it was individually or together. It sounds like they were individual at that point, but we don't know what time they got home. 4 years after almost 4 years, we still don't know what time they got home. That is wild to me.
Yeah.
And hold on, I wanted to address this question really quick. Chris, I have absolutely no issue with someone going to therapy either. I am a huge supporter of therapy. I actually require most of my clients to actually work with a therapist when we're going through a really, really high conflict, messy, abusive divorce, because Ron and I are not a therapist and we're a lot more expensive, but I am a huge advocate for therapy. I think the issue we were just talking about was it's my understanding he had started going to therapy prior to the murders. But the fact, it's really just going to the evidence that Kaylee and Jack did not have this beautiful breakup, and they were still besties at the point of the murders. And I think that's the most important issue to address, is that it's okay that they weren't on the same page. I mean, I'm sure he was heartbroken. I'm sure it wasn't easy for him to look at Kaylee having potential relations with multiple people.
Yeah, and I want to clarify, I am not a therapist, and I have no interest in being one.
Yeah, my bedside manner is not pleasant enough to be a therapist.
Kristen, you're great, but I don't know that I would disagree with that.
Oh no, my tough love mine would be very direct, tough love, and then they probably wouldn't come back. So that's why I tell my clients is I'm not a therapist. I'm twice the cost of one. Go get someone who actually knows how to deal with this, because what I would be like is put your big girl pants on and let's go. You've allowed this to happen for 10 years, but now it's time to quit.
Yep.
So I think therapy is an amazing thing. D-Slims. Everybody
here's
needs
a good
therapy.
question.
Even a therapist.
Mr. Naysayer, about us as lawyers. Do you see that?
Okay. Let me go back really quick right here.
Would you as lawyers ever care if your client is guilty, innocent? Would it have an effect on your strategy? Would you claim your client's innocence openly in a court hearing? There's a couple of things at issue here. We cannot put our client on ethically. We cannot put our client on the stand ever if we know in advance that they are going to perjure themselves. So I would not want to know if they are guilty or innocent personally, I think, because it's irrelevant to my role as their attorney. My role as a defense attorney is to make sure that the prosecution proves their case beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah, I would not want to know as well. I think you're getting into a gray area with respect to that. If I discovered it at some point or had strong feelings at some point that he wasn't just an excellent candidate, but he was actually the one, we are prohibited by, the state bar from perpetrating a fraud. So we can't, if we know that our client is very likely innocent, and we cannot continue to push that narrative without making it a big deal within the court. So I just don't ask. It's even with my family law clients, sometimes less is more. So, and clients want to always tell you everything. I want the facts. I want what's in front of us, but I don't need to know things that would potentially hinder my ability to zealously advocate for someone.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't.
And that is why Turvey never met with Brian. And I don't know if people realize how important that was, because and Taylor was pushing the whole Brian is innocent, wanting Turby to meet with him. And when we asked Turby that question, he was very clear that no, because if I meet him, I might have a potential bias. And then at that point, not only is my report potentially jeopardized and the integrity is jeopardized, but now I am an expert. I'm in a position where I've met with this person and now maybe I'm not looking at the evidence the same way because I like him and I want to make sure we get a good result. So I think it was very professional that Turby never met with him, never talked to him.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't matter if I think my client is innocent or not. It makes no difference. That's not my role. My role is not to adjudicate their innocence or guilt. My role is to represent them.
Mm-hmm. Look at this question, Ron. Katie, I'm right there with you, girl. When she hears that comment, she goes in her room and locks the door. So it's like that's like a speed bump for me. So you think one of your roommates is in trouble because you heard something, and then you go in your room and you lock your door rather than checking on any of your roommates. I think that is very bizarre.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think anything that Dylan, and I think I want to go back and look at this again. Did Dylan give any information to police that was not in text messages that there was not some objective evidence of that they could already see? I haven't looked at it. I haven't examined it from that perspective. That would be interesting to go back and look. That would suggest to me that any narrative she's giving is to explain what's in text messages.
Yeah, and not just text messages, all the different platforms. We know they were on LinkedIn, Yik Yak, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I'm sure there's a couple that I'm not even saying, but I do believe that there's a lot going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. And let's see, Lucine Fox has a follow-up question to the innocence.
Okay, hold on. Let me pull it up. Which one, Ron? Oh, Lucine, got it right here.
Yeah. So why would Anne say BK is innocent? I think she has to, as part of her representation. That is their position. He didn't do it. They're defending, in any criminal prosecution, there's two sides. You're guilty, or he's guilty, he's not guilty. So I think it's fine for Anne, even if she doesn't know for sure that she can ethically express her belief that her client is innocent and take that position and defend that position. I think that is a proper part of zealous representation. So I don't have a problem with her saying he's innocent, he didn't do it. She is not allowed, if she, on the other hand, knew Anne is not under oath.
She won't testify.
And she won't testify. And that doesn't mean that she can lie to the court, but she can take positions like that, and that probably suggests even stronger to me that either he told her he's innocent or no, I don't. I think she may not have ever had that discussion with him, because now I don't know how she could take the position on the plea that necessarily that she did.
Yeah, that would be a question I would avoid asking.
JJ, that's exactly what I'm kind of thinking about.
Yes.
About.
If you guys don't follow JJ's channel, you should be. And we've had JJ on a couple times, and we always love having that deep analysis with you, JJ. But yeah, Ron and I both agree very much.
All right. Let's see.
And then, yeah, she said that she woke up at 4 a.m. because she heard Kaylee playing music, and then I don't know. I don't know how the events happened, but I just know that she ended up going down the room at one point, being scared, And she said that she had called all of them. The only one that was replying to her was Ben. And they had like, I don't know, like talked themselves out of it. Like, oh, there's, you know, there's no one in the house. Like, we're just seeing things or whatever. I don't know what the conversation was, but that's all I know. And then, yeah, the next morning.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to explore a little more what Dylan told her, because I guarantee she said more, told her more than she told police.
And then that would be followed up by actual researching social media documentation to see if that narrative actually sticks.
Yeah.
Here's a question from ABB Brain.
I wish
Do you think he claimed to be innocent, or that's just what I'm assuming Ann Taylor assumed? I would hope that as an attorney that she would have come to that conclusion based on the evidence, rather than just, you know, hey, I'm representing BK, so I think he's innocent. I you know, she's been practicing law quite a long time. So if she believes that, then more power to her. But as an attorney, clients lie all the time. And so if I'm, even with our family law cases, if someone's coming to me saying I'm the victim of domestic violence, the first thing I'm asking them is what evidence do you have to support this claim? Do we have pictures? Do we have text messages? Do we have social media posts? Do we have bruises? Do we have any cuts? Because no offense, I've had so many clients lie to us over the years that I start from the place is, okay, this is an allegation, and how do I disprove it, or how do I prove it? So that way I can get the court to make a permanent order. And I want to ask the chat one question really quick, because I don't know enough about it. Is I know there's been a lot of commentary about Brian, quote unquote, checking out with respect to his defense. Where is this coming from? So if you guys know anything in the chat, please let Ron and I know. I don't know if that's a rumor or people are making speculations and then it's going viral, but how do we know that Brian at some point, quote unquote, checked out with his defense?
Yeah.
Okay, you can go, Ron.
No, hey, you know, yeah. That's why we're talking to everybody, to see if, you know, collectively there's enough information to point us towards more people to talk to and stuff. So I do appreciate it. I'll leave you my card if you do think of anything else or whatever. Or if you see anything. I know that on some of those group chats and other social media stuff, Instagram, if people are posting stuff that, you know.
I had to get off of social media because it's just, and I know like the media's got to do what they got to do, but it's just so damn insensitive, the things that they post and the words that they use. And I'm like, I think that sometimes people tend to forget that this isn't a game of murder mystery, that like these are for very real people.
It's for real people, and then if you accuse the wrong person, they have problems, and it's a vicious cycle. And
it's so hard to like see and hear all of these like rumors and accusations, especially from, you know, people all around the world. And I'm like, you didn't, like, Moscow's a small town. I know you don't know.
Right.
Like, I know that you're just playing detective on Twitter behind a keyboard of
But yeah, I mean, if anybody's talking about stuff and it seems like they know too much, like more than what's on the news or anything like that, then just let me know. And,
okay.
And stuff, or if you think anything else along the way.
I will.
So, well, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And
all right, and that's about it. Here's what I want to say to those detectives who are, she's talking to them about, you know, this is not a game and this is real life. If you guys would have done your job competently, then we wouldn't be in this position where we have somebody who's pleaded guilty and all the evidence coming out suggests he didn't do it. You know, if you do your jobs competently, then we have nothing to talk about.
I agree.
And I agree. This is real life. That means if we're right, somebody's running around out there, either in Moscow or have moved on, who has the willingness to do this to somebody. And who's to say whether they're not going to do it again or not? I mean, yeah, it's real. This is real life. And if we are better detectives than you are, then who is it that's really playing at it?
I agree.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be providing content on a case that was 4 years old if it was very clear unequivocally that the right person was convicted. And if the investigation was done better and there was no chain of custody issues, I agree with you, Ron. There wouldn't be so many channels still talking about this case almost 4 years later. I think everybody would have moved on. But I mean, every time we get a new evidence drop, there's even more questions, and that's very problematic.
Yeah, this is not a game for us either. I mean, this is serious. We know these are people. When I was in college, I had friends who were from Moscow, Idaho. You know, there are people around there that I know. You know, yeah, we're very aware this is real life, and we're out in that life. And well, Kristen's a few years behind me, and Sam even farther. But I'm sending kids off to college, you know, into similar environments. And I don't like to think that there are cops out there that are willing to protect people who may be involved in something like this at the expense of others. I mean, when you look at how little contact Brian Koberger had with this, if he really, you know, if there's really nothing more out there that goes to his guilt, I mean, it's scary how little involvement he had, and just a few little coincidences could lead to him ending up spending the rest of his life in jail because cops couldn't do their job right. So.
Yep. I agree. I was just looking to see if there was any other big questions that we missed. I know there were some really good questions in here. And here's a good comment. Yes, Daily Planet, the emotional manipulation the media was participating in this case. I don't think there was ever a chance for a fair jury pool in that climate, even in 2025. I agree with you, Daily. I agree with you. I think I think they prosecuted him through the media. I think there were so many rumors. I started listening to the book by James Patterson. I think that's his name. And I didn't go looking and trying to read the book because I'm looking for an alternative situation, or I'm having doubts. I actually just like seeing what the other side has, what their evidence is, what interviews that they had that we may not know about. But I'll tell you, I think it was like in chapter 4 or 5. The book claims that Brian was at the restaurant, okay, the Mad Greek, where Maddie worked, and that Maddie went up to his table, and Brian was so in awe of Maddie that he asked her out. And then it even says that, you know, she kind of closed her eyes for a second and kind of laughed. There was no, she didn't have a problem with boys liking her. And it's like a whole scene. And Maddie said no. And I'm like, that is so blatantly wrong. That's the Mad Greek owner even came out and said, hey, I know there's rumors that Brian once connected to our Wi-Fi. However, we cannot prove that even happened. But I'm reading this book and I'm sitting there going, how the hell did people get away with this? Because that is how confirmation bias exists. And I think that there's so much evidence to that in this case that it's really hard to process.
Yeah, and I think a lot of media is focused more on sensationalism,
like Nancy Grace.
Yeah. Yeah, and
I don't even think she believes her own lies.
she may not care.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I don't know. I have a hard time. I don't like to believe things that are wrong. I don't like to be wrong. But you know, I have a hard time saying things that I don't believe or that I think are wrong, and that's why I have a hard time with some of those media. So many people out there now that are just blatantly lying and don't care, and that disgusts me.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I know I've said this a few times, but if you're after the money for this case, it would have been far easier to go on the other side of it because it just would be easier. And so, I mean, I think there was a Megyn Kelly, she did like a 3-hour interview. She didn't even know what fraternity Ethan was in. And you could tell that she was very likely just reading off a podium or a prompter. And that's concerning to me because it's monetary. And I can tell you that the three of us got in the case just because it just pulled on my heartstrings in every way, specifically with the 8-hour delay.
Yeah, this actually, I don't know about you. I'm not getting paid for this.
No.
And in fact, I have weekends that I work because I miss out on time because I'm doing this, because
Same.
I enjoy doing this.
Same.
And I think it's important.
Yeah, and all the donations and everything we get, we usually funnel it right back into YouTube to see if we can get, more in the algorithm and more people can get the eyes on this side of the community where we are challenging people and we are asking people to not just believe everything that they hear or that mainstream media presents. And, I think in the last year, we've seen more and more people actually admitting that something isn't right. And, I think that there's a lot of really good creators and people like you that have been resilient and are just really, really, really brilliant people that we're all working together, and hopefully truth and justice will come out at some point. And Gabriella, is there a tornado? Is that what you just said? Hurricane. Oh wow. Well, we hope you guys stay safe and there's no damage to you or your property or your family.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. Well, I don't know. Do you have any closing thoughts, Kristen?
Nope. I just want to reiterate again, thank you to Connor. Everything we've talked about going through this interview, Ron and I are just using our training and experience and background to come up with our own opinions. We always encourage everybody to go do their own investigation. You can get this video off of Connor's page. And I always appreciate all the brilliant comments in the chat. You guys are amazing. Thank you to our mods that are always so good and kind and really make it a good place to be able to speak your mind without getting attacked.
Yep.
And I think we're going to do the documentary next. There's part 1, part 2. And, trigger warning, you will very likely get very angry with the documentary, but it's just, there were so many glaring falsities that I'm like, do they even believe it? But I encourage you guys all to go watch it on your own, and then we'll talk about it on probably like 2 different episodes, go through part 1 and part 2. But what is that, like the 5th documentary now on that side of the case? And there's another one coming out next week. I'll
stock up on snacks and be ready to yell at the TV.
Yes. It was bad. But that is all we have for today. We hope everyone has a really, really good Friday. I don't know about you guys, but it's been a week. And so I am looking forward to, well, I'm not going to be relaxing. I have to be all over California for my kids for soccer, but I'm looking forward to a little bit of downtime. So thank you for joining us, and thank you for being here with us today. And if there's anything that you guys want us specifically to cover, or we've been talking about doing a couple panels where we bring some of the chat members up to comment with us or to just discuss with us. If that's something you guys want to do, just let us know. I think that would be really cool because there really are some brilliant people in here. I think it's a really smart community.
Yep. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys. Have a good weekend.